Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Pri Radhikacharya Stotra Satta Sri Srimad Divine Grace Shara Bhai Charanarvind Bhakti Raghava Swami Sri Prabhāsa Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Niskan Devi Ki Founder Acharyas Divine Grace Shri Prabhāsa Ki Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Samaveta Bhakti ki, Harinam Sankirtan ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Danitai Gaura Premanande. All gladies to be assembled devotees, all gladies to be assembled devotees, all gladies to be assembled devotees, all gladies to see Guru and to see Gauranga, all gladies to see the Prabhupada ki. Ajnanatimirandasya Gyaranjana Salakaya Taksurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapatam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Shri Rupam Sabadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakanditam Sya Hai Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kancana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansakalpa Tribhasya Kripa Sindhu Vyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Dharam Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our great means of conquest, let us first offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the Supremost Human Being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, and unto Sri Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesha badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhaviti Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed or practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Sakara Bhagavan Rishi Nisreya Sayalokasya Dhanyam Swasthayanam Maha. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, the Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhatta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Asradhyaya Namaha. Om Asradhyaya Namaha. Om Asradhyaya Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim. Yat kripat maham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Yat kripat maham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our morning Bhagavatam class. It will be good if we, in addition to the regular Bhagavatam class, in many temples they have like 1 or 2 days during the week they hear directly a class from Srila Prabhupada. They hear a class from Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, Ekadashi.
Yeah, well,
Some
yeah,
system.
yeah. That is one system. Others,
In our temples, that's a system.
every Monday or whatever like that. Anyway, we can discuss later and choose a
But
day.
for that, a good equipment need.
Yeah.
Everyone read it here.
Yes. And also many devotees never get to read the Prabhupada Lilamrita. Who has read Prabhupada Lilamrita? Who knows about Prabhupada Lilamrita? Yeah. Very, very important. Okay, we are in the first canto, chapter 15. The Pandavas retire timely, and yes, okay, we're at the end of the of this chapter. Text number 50, 15, then there's 51. So today we're doing 50. Draupadi cha tadadnaya patinam anapekshatam vasudeve bhagavati hi ekanta matir apa tam Draupadi cha tadagnaya patinam anapekshatam vasudeve bhagavati ekanta matir apatam Draupadi cha tadagnaya patinam anapekshatam vasudeve bhagavati ekanta matir apatam Draupadi cha tadagnaya patinam anapekshatam vasudeve bhagavati ekanta matir apatam Draupadi cha tadagnaya patinam anapekshatam vasudeve bhagavati Ekanta matirapatam.
Draupadi cha tadajnaya
Draupadi cha tadajnaya
patinam
anapekshatam
Vasudeve Bhagavati
Vasudeve Bhagavati
Hi Ekantamati Aputam
Ekantamati
Draupadi cha tadajnaya
Draupadi cha tadajnaya
patinam anapekshatam Vasudeve Bhagavati
Vasudeve Bhagavati Ekantamati
Draupadi cha tadajnaya
Draupadi cha tadajnaya
patinam anapekshatam Vasudeve Bhagavati
Vasudeve Bhagavati Ekantamati Draupadi, the wife of the Pandavas.
Draupadi, the wife of the Pandavas.
Cha. And Tada. At that time. Ajnaya. Knowing Lord Krishna fully well. Patinam. Of the husbands. Anapekshatam. Who did not care for her. Vasudeve. Unto Lord Vasudeva Krishna. Bhagavati. The personality of Godhead. He. Exactly. Ekanta. Absolutely. Matihi. Concentration. Apa. Gat. Tam. Him. The Lord. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Raghava Swami Srila Prabhāsa ki. Draupadi also saw that her husbands, without caring for her, were leaving home. She knew well about Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Both she and Subhadra became absorbed in thoughts of Krishna and attained the same results as their husbands. Kindly repeat after me. Draupadi also saw that her husbands, without caring for her, were leaving home. She knew well about Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Both she and Subhadra became absorbed in thoughts of Krishna and attained the same results as their husbands. Purport. When flying an airplane, one cannot take care of other planes. Everyone has to take care of his own plane. And if there is any danger, no other plane can help another in that condition. Similarly, at the end of life, when one has to go back home, back to Godhead, everyone has to take care of himself without help rendered by another. The help is, however, offered on the ground before flying in space. Similarly, the spiritual master, the father, the mother, the relatives, the husband, and others can all render help during one's lifetime. But while crossing the sea, one has to take care of himself and utilize the instructions formerly received. Draupadi had 5 husbands, And no one asked Draupadi to come. Draupadi had to take care of herself without waiting for her great husbands. And because she was already trained, she at once took to concentration upon the lotus feet of Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, the personality of Godhead. The wives also got the same result as their husbands in the same manner. That is to say, without changing their bodies, they reached the destination of Godhead. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur suggests that both Draupadi and Subhadra, although her name is not mentioned herein, they got the same result. None of them had to quit the body. In translation again, Draupadi also saw that her husbands, without caring for her, were leaving home. She knew well about Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Both she and Subhadra became absorbed in thoughts of Krishna and attained the same results as their husbands. So this is the conclusion and part of this chapter. The Pandavas retire timely. As Prabhupada points out in the purport, all of us in the material world need to take advantage of various personalities. Within the Vedic culture, there are designated individuals who are meant to guide, whether it is within family family life, the primary person to actually give guidance is the husband and the father. There are other personalities, brahmanas, saintly persons, Vaishnavas, shastras. There are many ways by which one is meant to get proper instruction, proper guidance. Which will be helpful for the critical moment of leaving this body. So Prabhupada is explaining how when that critical moment comes, all of us individually have to rely on what we have learned. Means that appropriate example that Prabhupada is giving, we receive instructions on the ground before flying an airplane. Once we are up, we are on our own. So every one of us therefore have to make proper utilization of what Krishna has arranged. If we follow nicely, this is being underlined here that Draupadi was very qualified lady. She had the good fortune of having personalities like the Pandavas, Queen Kunti Devi, and others. So she knew, she was able to understand what to do when she saw her husband's leaving and of course the the essence of what one needs to do is to fix our mind at the lotus feet of the Lord. Ante Narayana Smriti, at the end of life especially, means the whole life is meant to help us attain that particular goal or objective, to remember what is the primary goal and objective of life, which ultimately is to return home back to Godhead. So therefore the whole Vedic culture is molded in that particular way.
You mentioned this back to Godhead, and we see that Draupadi, Pandavas went back to Godhead, but there is mention also that they didn't change their body, and we learned that we change our body. So there are different descriptions how one gets back to Godhead. There are different categories for different type of living entities, or could be for everyone the same method. We go the same place in the big Vaikuntha Loka, or we go to different places. If we go, what is the quality to go there? This is enough just to focus on mind on Krishna, like Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Maybe
Well, there's a few things. One is what we were also hearing a few days back, how that is how the Pandavas left in their self-same body. This is being repeated here. That also both Draupadi and Subhadra also attain, which is not the common or usual way that one leaves the body. So that is yeah, when we say back to Godhead is the world of Vaikuntha is very big, and it's very much based on the different levels of realization. It's based on the type of relationship one has developed. That is a very involved subject matter, which is of course described in the Nectar Devotion. It's a very deep subject matter, the subject of rasa. We say going back home. There are different, we could say, natural attractions that are there, just like in ordinary life. Some people like to do some particular activity. Some people have more qualities, natural inclinations to do some particular service. So that is also there on the spiritual level. We are meant to naturally develop some particular, what we call, affinity, and that's very much individual, because we're all individuals, and those basic, can you close this a little bit? Those basic guidelines are given in the Nectar of Devotion in particular, other places as well. So in other words, when we say back to Godhead, which is what you're the point that you're raising, what does it mean going back home, back to Godhead?
Not taking birth again.
Yes, not taking birth again. That's the negative side. That's the
Generally in service of Lord Krishna.
Yes. Yeah, going back home, back to Godhead means having learned how to completely be disconnected with the modes of material nature, isn't it? Because that is what is binding us in the material world. Becoming freed or completely detached from all kinds of material hankerings or material desires or material identification, and therefore completely being synchronized with our primary identification as servants of Krishna. That will vary, of course, from one individual to another. Yeah. So one of the important points here is that Draupadi, both Draupadi and Subhadra, were very faithful and surrendered wives, and they had served very nicely. They had taken up their particular duties. We all have different duties and responsibilities. And therefore, when that moment came, when their husbands decided to leave, she automatically knew what to do. That is described here. She immediately fixed her mind on the lotus feet of the Lord, and she attained the same, that is explained here, she attained the same destination as her husbands.
Another question that Prabhupada in the last part of his purport mentioned that Subhadra's name is not directly mentioned in the verse, but he put her name into the translation, and that in normal way it's not a correct translation, but he says that he is doing it because Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur suggested it or ordered it, I don't know. So what is the proper understanding of, in this kind of presentation of the authorized book, which in this case changed? Of course, this may be good for change, but how we can say that or Bhagavatam is the original Bhagavatam which never changed, if in the translation is.
Yes. Well, as Prabhupada explained in the purport, and we know how whenever Srila Prabhupada would be translating various verses in the Bhagavatam, he would be reading translations or commentaries by other Vaishnava acharyas, and Vaishnava acharyas they will not simply speculate on things, but they have there are two ways in which we can understand this. One is that Vaishnava acharyas are generally well versed very well versed in the Shastra, and also very realized, very advanced spiritually. There are two ways to understand or to receive knowledge. One is directly by reading Shastra, where in this particular case, in the text itself, Subhadra's name is not mentioned. And the other way to receive knowledge is what is called in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, that verse is explaining how does it start? When one is able to be situated in the mode of goodness, evam prasanamanaso, that verse in the second chapter, Divinity and Divine Service. Evam prasanamanaso bhagavat bhakti yogataha bhagavat tattva vijnanam. The first way of acquiring knowledge is by reading Shastra. And the second way of acquiring knowledge is through Vijnanam. Vijnanam, realized knowledge. I remember in Montreal, Prabhupada was visiting. That was in 1975. Prabhupada had come for a short time. And at that time, the translation of the Bhagavatam was in the fifth canto. Fifth canto of the Bhagavatam is not easy canto, because it deals with cosmology. Prabhupada actually had one time commented that some of my disciples, when reading this fifth canto, will leave because there are descriptions and explanations that are like not at all easy to understand, that are beyond our general faculty of or ability to understand. So Prabhupada was staying close to the temple. He was staying actually in the temple president's apartment. And we had all gone. It was not a big apartment. There was a few rooms. Prabhupada was in one room with his senior, some of his senior disciples discussing. They were having discussions on the fifth canto of the Bhagavatam. And I remember all of us, we were all young devotees, we were trying to, pull our ears to try and understand what was being discussed. And we knew it was about the fifth canto. And then at one point, I don't know if that was recorded or not, because many things devotees were recording, but not everything. But at one point, some discussion was ongoing, and some of the devotees were asking some question. I forget exactly which question, but it was in connection with the universe and cosmology, Vedic cosmology. And then Prabhupada had given a particular reply, then he added, and this is not based on, directly Shastra, this is based on realization. And I remember upon hearing that, thinking that, yes, someone who is on the level of transcendence, someone who's actually self-realized, then he will be able to, Krishna will reveal certain things that are not commonly known or understood. So Tattva Vijnanam, actually all of us, we can only properly advance in spiritual life when Krishna allows us, when Krishna reveals, helps us to understand. The otherwise very difficult subject matters of not only spiritual knowledge, as Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, is very, because it's the topmost knowledge, it's very confidential subject matter. Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, it is very confidential, very deep subject matter. And not only is spiritual subject matter, or subject matter is not so easy to understand, but even this example serves the purpose. Cosmology, how the universe functions. We have descriptions of Mount Sumeru. We have descriptions of how the planets are rotating, etc., like that. So even materially speaking, so many things we cannot so easily. That is Krishna's energies are working in inconceivable ways, both his spiritual energy and material energy. So, coming back to the question, someone like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, how exactly he came to that understanding that not only Draupadi but also Subhadra. So Prabhupada, because Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is an authority, is one of the Vaishnava authorities, and therefore Prabhupada just accepts that as good as Shastra. So in other words, he has revealed this means is not only what is in Shastra, it's a little bit like we were discussing yesterday. We were just touching on this point yesterday regarding subject matter of tattva and how the basis of all tattva, or the basis or the source of all tattva, is the Vedas. And some will argue that if it's not in the Vedas, then we don't accept it. So some will argue that actually other literatures which are not in the Vedas directly, therefore are not accepted. But one of our foremost authorities, Srimad Bhagavatam Swami, establishes in his Satsandarbhas that actually for us today, the subject matter or the content of the Bhagavatam is more important than the original Vedas. The Bhagavatam is in other words, revealing. That's explained in the Tattva Sandarbha. Srila Jiva Goswami explains how Srila Vyasadeva has revealed, because he's incarnation, direct literary incarnation of Godhead. And he has revealed information that is higher than what the Vedas, which is, in one sense is like, how is that possible? But the subject matter of, it's like, we also read, I believe in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, how it might also be there in some purport of the Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada explains how the whole subject matter of Radha and Krishna, up until just, shortly before the advent of Lord Chaitanya, it started to be discussed only maybe 100 or 200 years before the advent of Lord Chaitanya. It means now we take it, we tend to take it for granted. The subject matter of, of Radha and Krishna and Krishna and the gopis in Vrindavan. But this is very extremely confidential subject matters that up until just a few hundred years ago was practically unknown, or not discussed practically at all. So it is it is part, we could say it is part of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, that there are subject matters or aspects that are at different times revealed by very elevated personalities. That's yeah.
So I understand that it's a basic tattva, that whatever acharyas says, the well-known acharyas, at least, they are like the same authorities in the Shastra. So that's Shastra which they say.
Right.
But my question is a little bit different.
Okay.
Because when we see Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's well-known translation, which is translation from his Sanskrit, so it's not exactly the Sanskrit, but from North Sanskrit, then they translate to English. And his version of the verse translation is not containing the name of Subhadra, but in his commentary, he says that Subhadra and others did the same. And that sentence, that statement, Prabhupada put into the verse translation, and not exactly as Vishwanath told it or wrote down, but only one part, like Subhadra. And others, he implies in his purport, like any wives attain the same, So he changes things. And he have good reason, but I don't know what is his good reason. Why he just not repeat? If he could repeat his purport, Vishwanath Chakravarti's purport or comment, but he takes one part of the purport or the comment into the verse, other part explains. So it's looks like a challenge for me. It could be good because I have to accept him like the same authority as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Also, he's, a common businessman or what to say. So, but another thing that I have to protect Prabhupada. When anyone challenging him, I have to say something good reason why he does it and why he have right. So why he did it, maybe we can figure out, maybe not, I don't know. And what gives him a right to do that? Which is not hurting the basic principle. We have to keep the Shastra as it is.
Right.
Like today, there's a big issue in the BBT that anything BBT changed after Prabhupada. And there are a lot of changes, which is, they say it's correct. So there's a big issue.
So, if I understand, you're asking, like, because Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions in his commentary not only Subhadra but and others, and Prabhupada only took Subhadra and not others.
Others not.
Right. You have to ask Prabhupada. You have to go in deep samadhi. I don't know. I mean...
but you know Prabhupada, so maybe you can more understand. Definitely you can more understand Prabhupada's style or way how he presents Bhagavatam.
But just from a logical point of view, if I say, if I mention a name and then I'm vague about other names, then there's no need to mention other names. So it's like the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions Subhadra specifically, and then others are like not clear. Not clear means there are no other names. So Prabhupada just took the name Subhadra.
But we know who were the wife of the Pandavas, the second wives or third wife. From the Bhagavatam, for the Mahabharata, we know that. Anyway, they are not mentioned. Because it's a question that how ladies could attain the same goal also, they have maybe different qualities. That's also a question for in this or institute or ISKCON, that how the ladies have to practice in old age. They should stay with their husband, or they should practice alone, for which quality they are allowed not to be with their husband, to be protected. If the relationship is not correct exactly, so then what they should do if they are more advanced than their husband. Varnashram, Vanaprastha for ladies.
Yes.
So there are many connected topics.
Yes.
And we can use the Shastra for give advice to lady Vaishnavis, what to do in these situations when their husband just takes like a mad and goes to Vrindavan, what they should do.
Yes.
Without asking them, okay, come together to Vrindavan, we retire. If they don't ask, what they should do.
Yes.
They do just to go with them or like that. Based on that Shastra means they have to have that basic of the Shastra, and this is one of the part when they will find what to do.
Well, I think one of the main points which is being stressed and underlined here is that the more, whether it's the wife or let's say the children, in the Vedic culture, in the ideal family life situation, both the wife and the children are meant to be dependent on the husband. That is the Vedic understanding. And the point that I see being stressed and underlined here is that because Draupadi and as well as Subhadra, they were very ideal in their role as wives and as mothers. Therefore, in this difficult situation where the husband is not there, they knew what to do. isn't it? So I would say the more we understand what is the ideal situation, what is meant to be the ideal services that all of us have, looking at the Vedic culture and looking at Vedic family life as the model, as the ideal model. Of course, now we're in Kali Yuga, and we're far removed from that ideal model. We don't have Vedic culture outside of India, and even in India, it's breaking up. So the point being that we should know that there is a model. We should know that there is what is meant to be ideal, and then we should endeavor to emulate or to duplicate what is that ideal. And again, being Kali Yuga, we are far from that ideal, but we should endeavor to come close to that ideal, and then whatever may be lacking, whatever shortcomings are there, one of the important principles that is always there in the Vedic culture is that we need to take a guidance from those who are seniors whenever we find ourselves in difficult kind of situations, which is the case, especially nowadays, as you mentioned, because there are so many irregularities that have, we're surrounded by a society that is described as Varna Sankara, without following any principles whatsoever. And very often husband and wife not having properly been trained and prepared to enter a householder life, and therefore all kinds of problems and crises arise because of that. So these two things I think are very important. We read the Bhagavatam, we hear the different narrations that are there to understand. We get to know what is meant to be the perfect arrangement or the ideal social arrangement. I mean, the whole Varnashrama system is speaking about and promoting a perfect concept of society, isn't it? The perfect society is being described here, and therefore we should strive to individually and collectively as well to manifest that more ideal situation. And whenever there are problems that are preventing us from living or experiencing that more ideal lifestyle, that more ideal situation, then we learn to take guidance and assistance from senior Vaishnavas. Yeah. It raises an important point, which I think is a fundamental and missing in modern day society, and I would say modern day ISKCON as well. If we know theoretically, number one, that there is such a thing as ideal family life, which is described, of course, in the Bhagavatam. And if we also know, and we should know, because it's also there in the Bhagavatam, what is meant to be an ideal society, which is described as being connected with cows, with land, as we discuss very often. In other words, agrarian lifestyle. The more we know that there's an ideal family life, where husband and wife and children have a particular role and particular relationship. And when we know that there is a particular lifestyle which is meant to be much more simplified than it is today in the modern lifestyle that is being promoted, knowing what is that ideal in terms of family, in terms of society, if we don't sufficiently strive to come to that ideal situation or platform, then we are just inviting, we're just inviting problems, or we're just allowing problems to continue. In other words, in addition to chanting the holy name, in addition to performing so many different spiritual activities, the Bhagavatam is very clear in terms of, okay, this is perfect society. It's described in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, isn't it? Narada Muni very elaborately speaks on these topics, ideal family life and perfect society. And if we are not sufficiently, as both individually and as a society, are not striving to make that happen, then the problems that we're experiencing will simply continue and probably get worse as well. So I think that's also part of the solution that we have to educate ourselves as individuals and as a society also to duplicate or to manifest what is there, and that brings us back ultimately to Vrindavan, the ideal lifestyle where we can properly understand what is meant to be education, what is meant to be ideal economics. That's in that lifestyle that is there in Vrindavan. But who's doing that? Who's even endeavoring to do that? We are reluctant. In general, there is reluctancy on the part of devotees to take up this lifestyle. So then it means that we are responsible for all of the irregularities that come about.
I think that if you go to the root, the sadhusanga, so these differences coming up, then someone have not the same quality of sadhusanga in a group. Like because of the service, for example, they are not here in the Bhagavatam class, then they miss that 1 hour to educating themselves in the Bhagavatam. So there's persons who have some very important service, but because of that service, their lack of some kind of association, they have to be provided the same quality in the other time in the day. Otherwise, their consciousness will slowly deviate from the others.
Yeah.
Because everything based on the quality of the association. So every members of the smaller group should have at least provided the same quality of association according to their service, according to their special and individual situation, and then you can see the group keeps together
more unified, more harmonized.
Like in family, the husband and the wife have different lifestyle.
Right.
Nowadays, they go to the temple, husband goes in this service, wife goes in another service. They have different association. That means they have different understanding of the reality. And maybe they discuss, but it's a very strong effect with whom they associate in the temple in different situations. So we may see this deviation because of the different association they got.
Yes, it's all based on association.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a wonder they are different understanding because they have different influence.
Yes.
Like Prabhupada's wife. Prabhupada had a very strong association going to the temple afternoon, and his wife was not have this, so she couldn't really realize what is the goal of the life because of lack of association. Of course, it's dependent on her also why not following,
Yeah.
but that's fair.
How to be on the same wavelength.
Yeah, sure, that's the thing.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes. Somewhere in the Bhagavatam, it mentions that Bhagavatam is the answer to all the questions.
Yeah. It is with the basic association.
Right.
Vyasadeva, with Shukadev, with Prabhupada, with Vishwanath Chakravarti.
Yeah. Something else?
Lord.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada has written, at the end of the life, when one has to go back home, back to the Godhead, everyone has to take care of himself without help rendered by another. But in the material world, we take help of Guru. How can we understand this?
Guru's position is transcendent.
And associations of Vaishnavas.
Yes. But you will understand when you're on your deathbed.
Maybe tomorrow, sorry.
No, the idea is that what you say is correct, and what Prabhupada says is also correct. Means during our lifetime, we take association, we are meant to take, we should take association and guidance from so many other personalities. But there is such a thing called old age and disease, where at the end of our life, which is not only coming in old age, we can be put in, this body, which is, our body is very fragile, life is very fragile. And we can find ourselves at any moment totally in a disease condition, not able to maybe even communicate with others. It means that at a certain point in our life, we're on our own. And that is what is being described here, is that all of us, even though it's like, whatever relationship we are having, whatever relationship we've been able to establish, and we should establish such relationships to help us, but there comes a time where, due to nature, we have to simply take what we have learned and deal with it to come out of this material world, or to come out of this body, for example. I mean, it's hard enough to come out of this body, what to speak of coming out of the material world. I mean, coming out of the body, we're forced by the laws of nature, that's all of us, that is the nature of the material world, to leave this body. So the idea is that very often people will, some people might be in a disease condition for many days, many weeks, if not even many years, and not physically be able to take the physical association of other people who might have helped us. So in other words, there's a whole transformation, we could say, that takes place before we leave the body, although sometimes people leave the body very suddenly. Regardless of what it may be, in those last, we could say, moments, which for some people may be longer, they might be many days. You know, people, for example, people go in a coma, or even if somebody doesn't go in a coma, when you're in your last days, then you're not able to communicate, and people are not also able to communicate with you. So in other words, we are left to whatever we have understood and learned and experienced in our life. We're left on our own. Of course, Krishna is always there to assist and guide, but it's very much an individual and personal, what is it? Activity in terms of leaving this world or leaving this body. So yes, teachers, seniors, guru is there to help us prepare actually for that critical moment. And the point being that critical moment, we have to make the best use of what we have learned and what we have experienced to be able to deal with that moment. Yeah.
Yes, there are two types of association. Guru gives personal association, like in this situation, gives class, gives advice, but one when Guru is not present, but the instructions remains in our consciousness and they follow the instructions. That's one type of association. If we develop, we always feel the Guru is present and associates with us by remembering the special instructions given previously. So that's we have to have a quality to remember, and that's remembrance and a mood for the Guru keeps the association with the Guru in difficult situations.
Yeah.
Also, maybe he's not present. Maybe no one is present, but the remembrance brings them present properly.
Yes. Vandi and Bapu. Yes. Yes.
Shruti and Smriti.
Huh?
Shruti and Smriti.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Jai Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai Sri Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna.
His Holiness Bhakti Raghava Swami Maharaj ki.